Welcome to the weekly Gainers and Losers. I'm Thomas Meister, the loan officer's agent, and super excited to share with you guys this week's report. So we're using data from Redder, and we're basically going to be looking at the top lenders on the IMB side, gainers for the past week, as well as brokers and banks, although banks don't operate like purchase-based IMB lenders. So we're kicking off this week with New American Funding is not new to the top of the list, but New American Funding is, is this their first week as number one? That you can go back and look at our weekly series. I've been doing this almost since the beginning of the year. It's always interesting to me to see, we don't just want to look at one snapshot of a company. We want to look at, going back over the last 12 months or farther. How is a company performing? So this week at number one, New American Funding, net gain of 23 loan officers for $253 million of annualized production. You can get a Redder subscription if you want to dive in the rabbit hole. I love me a good Excel spreadsheet or Redder. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 $10 million plus producers coming into New American Funding. Okay. And let's see who left, because we're kind of counting the $10 million plus producers. One, maybe two, that could be one or two loans that may be posted somewhere else or incorrectly. And so we're going to give it to them. We're going to say that there's two, usually go down to 9 million. So we've got 13 coming into New American Funding and only 2 leaving. So a great week for New American Funding. Over the last 2 weeks, they're up $285 million annualized production last month, $831 million quarter, $1.67 billion 6 months, $1.81 billion, and year, $2.2 billion. I think that this is always very interesting to not just look at a company on a weekly trend basis, even though we want to see how people are performing week over week. I've had a lot of clients sharing with me who's winning right now. Who are people going to? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder as to some of these regions. You might, the reasons people are joining, you might even want to see, because New American Funding does a lot of home equity line of credit business. They do a lot of refinance business. So we saw one of those producers was from better.com. I don't know. I mean, if you want to click on it and go in the rabbit hole, I've done that in past episodes. Today, we're not going to do that. Today, we're going to move on to number 2. So coming in at number 2, no, they're not new to the top. To 1, 2, or 3, CrossCountry Mortgage. And let's see. It's interesting sometimes to kind of compare the companies, like where they're historically, because again, we're looking at 12 months here, right? Like, you could easily kind of pick the top 10 IMB lenders out of here. But how are they performing historically, right? Like going back 12 months and over the last couple of months or quarter, right? So last week, it's actually not. It's kind of mostly flat, you would say, for CrossCountry Mortgage. But over the last week, net gain of 18 loan originators for only, and I think CrossCountry Mortgage and a few of the other lenders are the only companies you could get away with saying that. Only $16.5 million of annualized production that they grew. Okay. So that's because they probably gained a lot of people, maybe a number of people left as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $10 million plus producers coming in. And how many leaving? Ooh, a number leaving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 $10 million plus producers leaving. And we can see one of them went to New American Funding. So you can start to see some of the trends here, like where people are going. Okay. So over the last 2 weeks, they're up only 16 million. But in the last 2 weeks, that was week. 2 weeks, 117, 18 million. Over the last month, 2.97 billion. That is kind of skewed because of the acquisition of Summit Funding, which isn't really skewing it because Summit Funding chose CrossCountry Mortgage for some reasons. I have heard some friends sharing with me as to maybe why that happened. So if you're interested, drop a comment in the chat. I'll reach out and connect with you, and I could share with you more details. But the purpose of this series is not to throw shade at any company or any person. We're going to let the data speak for itself. CrossCountry Mortgage is on a tear in terms of growth, undeniable. Quarter, 3.45 billion. 6 months, 4.7 billion. Year, $7.54 billion of growth. That is some impressive numbers. Coming in at number 3 for the week, we have Guaranteed Rate. Also not new to the top 3. Guaranteed Rate has also, I would say they're one of the only other companies, if you chart it out, that they are performing well, going back 12 months. And obviously, a lot of the largest, biggest IMBs are doing that. You can't say that's true for brokers. And there are a number of very big IMBs that are not performing like that. Okay. So in the last week, guaranteed rate bringing in net gain of 18 loan originators for 170 almost $1 million of annualized production. Let's see who's coming in. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 $10 million plus producers coming over to guaranteed rate. And then we've got how many leaving? 1, 2. Only 2 $10 million plus producers leaving. I think we saw that name Matthew Thomas already, right? Like he came from guaranteed rate over to CrossCountry Mortgage. So an interesting week, great week for guaranteed rate. And over the last 2 weeks, they're up $403 million. Month, they're up almost $700 million. Quarter, $1.1 billion. 6 months, $1.68 billion. Year, $2.32 billion annualized production. Guaranteed rate, doing some things right, growing. They're one of the few, not few, but the number of companies that you can easily point out and say, this company is growing. Like, chart it out, it's growing every single week. So we have 2 honorable mentions for this past week, and both are not the largest, but if you look at the gain here, the amount of, this is the percentage increased over the last week in loan officers. It's actually, they're technically the winners if you look at them for how many loan officers they added, right? They increased their loan officer count by 16% and 14.5% respectively, right? So both these companies, take a look at because up and coming, both new to, I would say, the top of the list, right? They're probably growing, but 2 honorable mentions right here on the IMB channel. So now we're going to be switching over to brokers. So we're going to do gainers for brokers, for IMB, brokers, banks. And banks, we're going to spend a little bit of time on, not as much because, again, it's not entirely the same. Then we're going to do losers in the reverse order. So coming in at number 1 for this week, we have Barrett Financial. On the broker side, not new to the top of the list. They are the largest broker in the country. And they are one of the few companies that's also just growing, charted out week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, and in the last year. So in the last week, net gain of 14 loan originators for $65 million of annualized production. So bringing in 1, 2, 3 $10 million plus producers, and only losing two $10 million plus producers, but they're adding more bodies. And so those people averaging out over the production, more production, right? So in the last 2 weeks, they're up $162.5 million annualized production. Month, it's about the same. Quarter, $657 million. 6 months, $1.38 billion. Year, $2.35 billion. So Barrett Financial Group, undeniable when you chart it out that they are growing, and they're growing week over week, month over month, quarter, year. So Barrett Financial Group coming in at number 1, net gain of 14. So there's a delta here between the next 2 biggest gainers, right? So we're going to see if everybody keeps the trend of, if just because you net gained loan officers doesn't mean you net gained production. And the reason for that, just if this is your first time watching the series, is because every single week this number changes. Okay, like as you can see, it's left, or that was previous, current, right? It increased by 200 million. But sometimes companies close other types of loans, loan officers get credit for different types of things. So it's not reliable comparing these 2 numbers. It's not going to be what, this over the last week. Let's change this to week 64 million, right? Because that was a $200 million swing almost, right? Not quite, but you get the point, right? Over 100 million. So coming in at number 2, United Lending Team. United Lending Team, I'm not actually entirely familiar with them, so this will be fun. They, as a company, doing more refinances than purchase. That's okay. Wow. 6 originators, but huge lift here in production. So only gaining 6, net gain of 6 loan originators, but for $207 million of annualized production. Who's coming in to United Lending Team? We've got a very big producer coming over from Loan Depot, another very big producer. Newer, previously inactive means that there was a gap in their license. So if I click this person, there's a chance that, are they with Loan Depot? Are they with Westcap? Was this a group? I don't know. Get a Redder subscription. Link in the description to Redder if you want to sign up for your own account. So 1, 2, 3 very big producers coming into United Lending Team. And I believe they were actually on this list not too long ago. They might have been even last week. Am I remembering correctly? I am remembering correctly. I think that there was some pretty big movement over a couple different companies you can see here when you look back the last 2 weeks. Okay, so last 2 weeks, they're up $313 million, about the same in the last month. Quarter, $450 million. 6 months, $545 million. Year, $900 million annualized production. So United Lending Team actually has not historically been at the top of the growth list. They've probably been around, but now you can see them actually sticking out, hanging around the top 3. And you can see why. Actually, as a company, performing very well, charted out. So great performance this past week and last 12 months from United Lending Team. Coming in at number 2, Primerica Mortgage, another company that is familiar with the top and the bottom. So I'm interested to try to chart this and look at it, right? Okay, so the first company to break the cycle of just because you gain loan officers doesn't mean you gain production. But it's really actually flat. Sorry, I thought it was a million. For a second, I was like, that's a lot of production that they just lost. But no, it's one loan. It's one loan in the Midwest, okay? Gaining 6 loan originators, but flat on the production, okay? So not even going to pull up who they were. They're down. They're flat over the last 2 weeks, flat over the last month, quarter, flat over the last quarter. Really? I thought that they were losing a lot more, and then 3.4 million flat over the last 6 months, flat over the last year. Wow. That must have changed somewhere, like with them recruiting a bigger group to kind of shore up some of the people that have left. So Primerica technically flat, not only in the last week, but really you could say it in the last 12 months. So they've been gaining and losing people, but in the end, more licenses in than out. But for $2.1 million, that's flat. That's like literally one loan in LA. Okay. It could be more actually, depending on where it is. So, all right. Some honorable mentions here for brokers. We have AML Funding. Recently, Denise Donahue had gone to AML Funding. So that was kind of a shakeup. She left Benchmark Mortgage. You'll see them on here as Arclatech. But she had recently gone to AML Funding. So they picking up 5 loan originators. Not sure if they gained production, but I'll let you click on Redder and find that out. And another honorable mention here, we've got Direct, 3 more you could really say. But they all kind of tied, right? I do know some people at Direct Rate, and these 2 are newer companies to me. I don't know anyone there. So really one real mortgage is the bigger of them, but really the percentage gain you could say goes to Direct Rate Lending. So some honorable mentions here on the broker side. All right, banks. I just don't really see any data here that makes this worth sticking around for. Their banks. I have friends at banks and that are 100% referral purchase based that do exceptionally well. Banks, this it's not as relevant. Okay, like you can see on here who some of the bigger gainers percentage wise are. Banks, and then bringing in bodies. What does that mean? I don't know. So the first one bank we will check out is Cornerstone Capital Bank, because I have friends who have told me that they operate more like an IMB broker would, that they're referral based lenders. Okay, so that's over the last year. Not good. Past week, they actually, was it really only they gained 1? Capital It says they gained 4, but I guess that's an error in the data. Interesting. That's not the first time that's kind of happened to us. I guess we'll work off the past 2 weeks, because I would imagine that maybe that's a glitch right there. Bringing in a number of people from CrossCountry Mortgage and some good producers right here. And then over the last 2 weeks, who they maybe lost? Not no one. Sorry. Just no $10 million plus producers. We're using that as like a barometer. How well is a company doing at attracting, or people are leaving? Like, why? A company, right? So over the last month, they're up 65 million. Quarter, 48, not as good. 6 months down 112 million, and year down 237 million. So you could say they're doing well more recently, but going back farther, not as much. All right, so we're going to scroll down here to the losers. Okay, and just because you're a loser this week, come on, like you could step it up. So really, we're going to skip. I mean, that's interesting. Bank of America letting go of 47 people. It's Bank of America, right? They're probably in a call center or just licensed individuals who, okay. So the only noticeable company I see on here that we want to take a peek at is Luminate. So Luminate Bank losing 5 people, but production, we will find out if it's a negative 5 people. No, that's interesting. So bank data this week is not actually performing as well. Let's go to 2 weeks. Okay, so the 2 week is actually probably more relevant, right? And for some reason, the 1 week, maybe it's not updated yet. I was told Redder updates about 10 a.m. by Tuesday. You could count on that. So it's a little bit later than that, but that's okay. So losing one $10 million plus producer and some other people. No theme here, you could say. But Luminate Bank, I guess you could say not the biggest loser for banks, but out of the companies that we all know and love, one of the companies that's not performing well in the past week. So next, we're going to be looking at, so that's it for banks. We're going to be looking at losers on the broker side. And we actually have some of the bigger ones. So we're going to see how this affects trends, okay? Because again, just because you lost originators doesn't mean that you lose production. So biggest loser for this week is Loan Factory. And Loan Factory has been hanging out in the top brokers for a long time. And they occasionally make an appearance on the bottom, usually because they get rid of a lot of licenses. So I would say that this is a flat week for the most part. Net loss of 42 loan originators for only 5.4 million. I could click this, but you're going to see, let's see if any big people came. We have one $10 million plus producer coming in, and how many leaving? One $10 million plus producer. So, hey, flat week. Check it out. Loan Factory of the last 2 weeks, down $30 million and 33 originators. Month, up 97 million. Quarter, up 147 million. 6 months, 401 million. Year, $822 million annualized production. So Loan Factory right now, maybe having a bad couple weeks or month. Was it month even? No, it's just a bad couple weeks, right? So Loan Factory, really not a loser for this week. Let's see if someone else wants to take the crown. Is it a crown? It's probably a negative thing if you're the biggest loser. So no, next up, breaking the trend. Net loss of 6 originators, but a gain of $64 million. So we've got three $10 million plus producers coming in, and all from IMBs. So they're recruiting some better, $10 million plus producers from IMBs. Okay, so that, we'll do one more just because we'll do Clear. Yeah, we're not going to pick on eMortgage over Clear. Well, were they tied? Sorry. No, they're tied. I'm going to look at eMortgage because they're bigger. If you're tied in the number of losers, then we're going to look at that first. It's flat, and so eMortgage, couple of weeks still flat, month still flat, quarter flat. This is not true, actually. Oh, wow, no. So it must be their recent pickups are. I was going to say, like, if I compare this to some of the previous weeks, this is not the case. I wonder if the data is wrong, but okay. Maybe more recently they're balancing out their losses with some gains. So 6 months, they're up 254 million. Year, they're down $78 million in annualized production. Okay, so now we're going to move on to IMB lenders, and this is going to be fun, and it's kind of like we're used to some of this by now. Okay, so biggest loser from this past week, Better.com, ending up on the bottom of the list. Now, Better has retail as well as online, like lead based. So we have to check it out to see, is it like lead based people leaving, or is it retail people leaving? So either way, net loss of 17 loan originators for $42 million of annualized production, gaining one person who does not do 10 million. And then, that means these people haven't landed yet, all this inactive. So I don't know if all these people are together. It'd be interesting to kind of find out. But gaining one $10 million plus producer, losing one $10 million plus producer to New American Funding. We saw that earlier because New American Funding, one of the biggest gainers for this week. So we're going to dive in a rabbit hole real quick to just look. Okay, this person is leads because they don't have relationships with realtors. Like if you're just doing one-off, then these are not your clients, or these are leads. Like you're getting these leads. So more than likely coming into New American Funding for leads. My 2 cents. Okay, I'm allowed to have an opinion. So, I mean, it's still a down week, but let's just look at Better over the last. Let's chart it out. So the last 2 weeks, not as bad. Only 12.6 million a month, down to negative 45 million. Quarter, they're actually up $19 million. 6 months, they're actually up $432 million annualized production. And last year, they're up $660 million annualized production. So Better not performing as well in the last month or so. They've been losing, but chart it out, right? They've been doing well farther back. So Better not having a very good week. Okay. And then 2 more to go. So we're going to do Everett Financial is Supreme Lending. It's just the DBA they go by. Or that's their legal name is Everett Financial. So Supreme Lending is the DBA, but that's the brand, right? So last week, let me just make sure. Net loss of 7. The data is a little off this week. That's interesting. The data is exported from Redder, and it's a little misaligned. So maybe some corrections were done to Redder after I was exporting it. Maybe I should do this on Wednesdays from now on. So last week, Supreme Lending losing net loss of 6 originators for $30 million of annualized production, picking up. I was going to say suspense right there. No $10 million plus producers. I'm bringing in two $10 million plus producers. Sorry, I just did that backwards. I'm so sorry. They gained no $10 million plus producers, but lost 2. Okay. So Supreme Lending over the last 2 weeks, net gain. So flat really on originators, but gaining $40 million. Month, they're down $66 million. Quarter, down $125 million. 6 months, they're down not as bad, $61 million. And year, up $511 million annualized production. So up and down a little bit right there for Supreme Lending. And, over the last week, you could say that it's not very good. So last but not least, well, we got a tie here. So I guess we'll have to do both. So CMG, much bigger than Union Home Mortgage. But hey, let's see if losing originators means you lost production, because we've had a few people break that trend this week. I would say flat. For Union Home to not be growing, you could say that because they're one of the biggest. It's not a good sign to have a slightly negative week, but net loss of 5 loan originators, net loss of $8 million. Bringing in no $10 million plus producers and none leaving. So just some other smaller producers. Over the last 2 weeks, they are down $30 million. Month, they're down $57 million. Quarter, $173 million. 6 months, $562 million. Year, $101 million. So not as bad last year. They've been performing better. Over the last year, it's not as bad, but I would say more recently, last 6 months and sooner, it's not been as good for Union Home Mortgage. So Union Home Mortgage is actually probably, you could say, performing very poorly going back a little bit farther, right? The farther back, the farther back you look, it's actually not as bad. So that's not true. They're not performing as well if you were charting this out. All right, last week for CMG, net loss of 5 originators for $14 million on a big company like CMG. That's pretty flat. So who came in? We have 2 $10 million plus producers coming in and 2 leaving. So in that sense, a flat week for them, but losing more people than they were gaining in the last week. So last 2 weeks, they're up $7 million. Month, they're down $52 million. Quarter, they are, up $300 million annualized production. 6 months, they're up $450 million. Year, $884 million. So CMG more recently is not performing as well, but they've been doing very well for a long time. It's only now, I guess, a month. In the last month, you could say that they're not performing as well as they have been. So some notes there on CMG, making, I guess, the bottom list for this week. All right. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. I appreciate you for watching. Leave a comment. Let me know something you got from this, so that way I know how I can better tune these videos week over week to make sure you're getting the most out of this information. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you in next week's video.